I think we are ready to begin. That was a wonderful presentation by our faculty. The first item on the agenda this morning is Chancellor Morton presenting the update to the Kansas City Strategic Plan.
Well, good morning, and thank you all for being here, for attending last night. I hope you enjoyed that, and also this morning. We have some magnificent faculty and students here, and I hope you're getting a little bit of exposure to why I wake up happy every day, because I get to work with them. All right, we got some great members of our leadership team in the room, so I'd just like to acknowledge them and all the great work that they do as well, and to thank you for all that you do for us. So as I thought about this morning, about giving you an update on our strategic plan, it occurred to me that we have a number of new people around the table, so it occurred to me that it might be important to provide some context, because we can say that we're achieving our goals, but that matters most when you understand that the goals we're trying to achieve are relevant. So for us, it's important, I think, for us to set some context here and for you to understand why we're doing what we're doing and where all of that comes from and why what we do is important. So I'll start with where we started, a little bit of what we mentioned last night. The University of Missouri at Kansas City was formed in 1933 during the heart of the Depression. And the members of this community felt that in order for them to survive long term, you really can't have a great city without a great university. And some of that you heard this morning when you start to think about the services that the university provides to the region. But when it was formed, the trustees were in charge. In fact, I was a member of the Board of Trustees I was not a member of the original trustees, that was 1933. But the university started as a private university called the University of Kansas City, and it actually joined the University of Missouri system in 1963 when the system was formed. And the then trustees, I think they sold the assets to the system for about $30 million, and the trustees were asked to stay in place for the next 20 years, just in case this thing didn't work, all right? Well, it's worked. And so about 40 years later, we had a great study that took place. You see, the region was starting to grow and starting to really find its way in the life sciences. So there was this task force that was formed, a life sciences task force, that was headed by Bill Danforth, the chairman, the Chancellor Emeritus of Washington University. And the question was this: now that you have the Stowers Institute here, and you have the Kansas City Area Life Sciences Institute that's starting to focus on the regional assets that we have in animal, plant, and life sciences, what is the role? How can you survive this long term, and what should be the role of UMKC? Well, this study gave a great report on that front. And then about a year later, under Chancellor Martha Gilliland, there was a great study done about, well, what should the overall strategy for UMKC be? I was a part of the Board of Trustees at the time, a great session, and what came out of it is actually the mission that we still have today in many of the elements of the strategy. That was formed in 2004, and there was a great deal of community support involved there. Well, some things happened in the community. There was a sort of a rift that occurred between the university and the city that occurred in about 2005 and 6, and the Time to Get It Right report was written. The authors were people like Benno Schmidt, the former president of Yale University, and Jim Duderstadt, the president emeritus or chancellor of the University of Michigan. So they wrote this report, and they talked about higher ed in the region, but out of that came more reinforcement for what UMKC should be doing. And there were several initiatives they identified that we actually worked on how we would respond to. So that was 2006 and 7 when a follow-up report was written called Time to Get It Done. But then our strategic plan was revised in 2009 and again in 2013. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So from all of that work, we arrived at this mission. So in order to make this mission make sense, you have to think about what are the issues in Kansas City and in this state that are important to us. So when you see things like lead in the life and health sciences, that really came out of the Danforth report, because that was really critical to this area. The visual and performing arts, that is huge in Kansas City, not just for the arts community, but for the corporations as well. Professional workforce development, no one can say that that's not important. And collaboration in urban issues, you heard about that this morning, and education, huge issue in any urban area. And we have programs that respond. In order to do that, you have to have a vibrant community. So, what were the strategic goals? When I put this together, we have 7. The first theme, place student success at the center, was actually added in 2009. The first items, I thought I had this color-coded, but items 2, 3, 4, and 6 were a part of the original strategy that was developed in 2004. In 2005, we added place student success at the center. Why not? That's what we're here for. And we added embrace diversity in 2009. Then in 2007, after all the other issues we've been facing in terms of support, why not add increased sources of revenue? It's survival, right? So where are we? Well, what I would say is all of those issues continue to be relevant. So that's a part of the point that I wanted to make, that we're continuing to pursue all of those objectives. Being successful is critical to our future and the future of this region and state. So there's something else I'd like for you to understand. In order to be successful, you have to have the right tools. And we are blessed to be equipped in the following ways. We are a very comprehensive university. We have 4 professional schools: medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, and law. We have a conservatory of music and dance. It's like another professional school. We have growing schools in engineering and management, Block School and the School of Computing and Engineering, very significant for this area. We have a College of Arts and Sciences, a School of Biological Sciences, a school for education that focuses on urban education and nursing. We have the capacity to grow. We are blessed. To have a student-to-faculty ratio that's really to die for. Quite frankly, that number 13-to-1 comes out of the U.S. News and World Report. We think it's more like 16-to-1, but that's still a great number. So we have capacity to grow there. That's the reason our students can get this personal attention. We have highly regarded faculty because students get to react to them. I talk to students all the time. They love our faculty. You heard a little bit of that yesterday. Small class sizes. Over 50% of our classes are 20 students or less. That gives you access. We've had to enhance facilities in order to accommodate the growth that we were looking for. And of course, we have additional research and capacity in research and services. But the other thing that's really extraordinary about us is where we're located. I mean, our community, I think, provides extraordinary level of support. It's diverse from a business standpoint and growing. We have, the Chamber came up with its Big 5 initiatives to advance the region. UMKC is in all 5. If we were not in any of them, you'd have to say we were irrelevant to the future of the region. The whole region realizes that you have to have an engaged and productive university in order to be successful. We have unique partners like next door, the Kauffman Foundation, and others. Philanthropy, you heard a little bit about that last night, but there's more philanthropy per capita in Kansas City than any other city in the world, and a lot of it is Kansas City-centric. Great location here on the plaza. We don't have, I feel for Tom, he's got to compete with WashU and SLU, and we don't have that kind of, we have some great private schools here, but we don't have that level of competition, and we're engaged in this community, and I think we can open any door that we need to by just asking. So, at the bottom you saw that what we need to do is certainly increase undergraduate enrollment to 20,000 by 2020. Right now, when I started, we had 40% graduate and professional students. A lot of the demand that we see is for undergraduate, and that's where we need to be. We need to be about 75 to 80% undergraduate. Now, I just put this in there. I believe I used this chart about 2 years ago. The Brookings Institute studied this region, and they determined where the growth would be. If you can see that, arts in this area in 10 years growing double digits, almost 12%. Architecture, engineering, no surprise, 20%. Finance and insurance, double digit, 11.3%. Health sciences and services, 16%. Information technology, it says only 6%, but I think there's some confusion about what you would count, because if you just look at the growth that's occurring in Cerner alone, that number is understated in my opinion. But that's the reason we have to grow, not just because we want to grow for the sake of growing. The other thing is this: I mentioned the Chamber's Big Five. These are the initiatives that will really bring this region to prominence. Being America's most entrepreneurial city, they claim that we are already in that space. We have a ton of entrepreneurs around here. The Kauffman Foundation says we're there, but UMKC and the Kauffman Foundation were identified as the resources that we have to make that a reality. Growing in the medical research, I mean, what we have is great discovery, especially in the areas of translational outcomes research and bioinformatics. Revitalizing our urban neighborhoods. You heard about what we're doing with the neighborhoods, but I'll tell you some more about some other things we're doing to support neighborhood growth. And then building the workforce for tomorrow. Urban education is critical here, but the number one issue was the initiative was the UMKC Downtown Campus for the Arts. As you know, we've completed raising, it's a $96 million project. We've raised $48 million privately, and our challenge now is get the support that we need from the state. We have, but this is not just an artsy kind of thing. Probably shouldn't put it that way. The arts in the state, we believe, produces about $1.1 billion in state revenue. 33,000 people employed, and as you saw from the earlier chart, growing at 11%. You talk to the CEOs of corporations in this town, millennials make a decision about where to live before they decide where to work. That issue that was raised this morning by our faculty about our students growing up, staying here, the only way they can keep the ones who come in from the coast is to have a vibrant arts community. So they are all supportive of this effort as well. So they're not alone. There's a chamber. The Downtown Council is probably our strongest supporter for the Downtown Campus for the Arts. City of Kansas City, you couldn't find better partners. The Kansas City Area Life Sciences Institute, Mizzou, and is also a part of that. The Civic Council, which is like Civic Progress in St. Louis, and the Kansas City Area Development Council, I used to chair that one. They both come together to put up a new strategy called KC Rising, all about education and advancing the economy in this region. So, there's more. This university has a really broad impact on this region. I could talk all day about the support we provide for indigent care on Hospital Hill with nursing, dentistry, pharmacy, medicine. The urban education, we have a program, the Institute for Urban Education, one of a kind in this country, that's having an impact on improving the quality of teachers who can be successful in that environment. Huge issue for us. Neighborhood development, you heard about that. I won't have to repeat that. I think Jacob Wagner did a great job of explaining what that's all about, and it's getting support from the state because, quite frankly, healthy communities produce healthy citizens and productive citizens. How do you get there? Through this kind of support. Fighting crime, I'll tell you more about that. There's down in the corner, this picture here. The little guy in that picture is me. Right? That is Director Comey, who is the director of the FBI. I can tell you that a person that tall has a unique perspective on the world. Tallest person, one of the tallest people I've ever been around. He doesn't appear that way when you look at him on television, But the reason I was there, this was about a year ago, we received an award from the FBI for our support of a project called KC Nova. It's the Kansas City No Violence Alliance. It's a collaboration we have with the FBI, the police, the tobacco arms and firearms, and all of those agencies. We come together to, and UMKC brings the technology to the table to help fight crime. That ought to be a presentation all by itself. But that's just another one of those significant projects that we are working on to reduce crime in the area. Our graduates of our Conservatory of Music and Dance founded, and our faculty founded the Kansas City Symphony, the ballet, other major arts venues in the region. And of course, I'll talk to you a little bit later about the fact that we are creating jobs. We have had this technology transfer that has created a major piece of big news in this region. So results. This is the last chart. We could talk about each one of these, but let me start by saying you heard from our students about putting student success at the center. You talked to them yesterday, and as you heard, we've made some progress. We've got a lot to do, but I think we're making progress. One of the things I would point to is a couple of things we're proud of. We have improved our retention rates up significantly, but we're about 5% above the national average. UMSL is doing a great job. I think Mizzou reported its best results ever. And, but our 6-year graduation rates are up 10 points over the national average. 6-year graduation rates, national average, for urban communities, urban serving universities, about 42%. We're at 52%. And you don't get there without focusing and putting students first. On the health and life sciences, I would say a couple of things. One, medicine, dentistry, pharmacy. We have 15,000 alums of those 3 schools. More than 60% of them are still in the state of Missouri and in this region. Not only that, we have 2 satellite programs for pharmacy. So we are leveraging the strength that we have in these disciplines to assist in the needs throughout the state. So our program in pharmacy is satellite in Columbia. We just opened a new satellite in Springfield. We are talking about a satellite for dentistry in Joplin. All of those are ways we can help this state with the issues of being underserved in those areas. But in addition to that, when you usually think about leading in life and health sciences, you think about research. So we have some outstanding researchers on our faculty, like John Spurtis, who has been identified as one of the researchers to understand and to watch. His area is outcomes research. With the agreement that we struck with you all a few years ago around our relationship with the University Physicians Association, we're now able to hire more physician scientists, and we're starting to increase our capacity to have a real influence in research in that area. Advanced urban engagement. You heard about that project. I told you about the Kansas City KC Nova. What you should know is those are 2 of probably 300 projects that we have going on in this region. The notion here is this: when we're successful there, if there's a problem that emerges in this region that needs a solution, you think about coming to UMKC first. That's where we want to be. The excellence in the visual and performing arts, I've already talked about where we are with the downtown campus. That is huge for this region and this university, for our students and our faculty. Embracing diversity, you heard about that last night. I think we're making great progress there. The last 2 I would pull together and say that an example of where we've promoted research and economic development and increased sources of revenue will be the iVerify project. Some of you may have heard that a couple of weeks ago, iVerify, this is a biometric technology. The research says that the vascular structure in the white of your eye is as unique to you as your fingerprint. That we have in our innovation center over on Troost a project called Whiteboard to Boardroom. It's a project that looks at research that's occurring inside of the university, gets that researcher connected with a serial entrepreneur, and in this case, it's a guy by the name of Toby Rush, who had just sold a business, and they created iVerify. iVerify last week was acquired for over $100 million by Ant Financial, the financial subsidiary of Alibaba in China. The good news there, it's a technology that started in this university. The company, after being acquired, is staying in Kansas City and creating jobs. Research that leads to economic development also increases sources of revenue. Questions?
Any questions for Chancellor Morton?
Not?
All very exciting stuff, Leo.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Cindy, would you call the roll?
Curator Cupps,
Yes.
Curator Graham,
Yes.
Curator Henriksen,
Yes.
Curator Nelson. Aye. Curator Phillips,
Yes.
Curator Snowden,
Yes.
Curator Sunvold,
Yes.
Curator Voss.
Yes.
All votes in favor.
Thank you. Our next item is the University System President's Report.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
It's exciting. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hard to follow Chancellor Morton. He's always got such good news, and he always presents it so well. So good morning, and thank you, Chancellor Morton. The Board of Curators and I thank you for your warm hospitality. We always enjoy returning to Kansas City to see what's happening here in this great urban university. I want to thank again the board for the opportunity and the privilege to serve as interim president of the University of Missouri System and its 4 top-rate campuses over the last several months. I continue to be impressed by our dedicated faculty, our staff, administrators, alumni, and friends. We all share a determination to focus on our mission of providing high-quality education, research, and service for the long-term benefit of our students and of our state. And I'm encouraged by the progress we've made and continue to make toward this goal. And speaking of students, what a remarkable group of students we had lunch with yesterday. I think that was probably the most impressive group of students who clearly love their university and are going to do big things for our state, our nation, and probably our world in the future. So congratulations to the students here at UMKC. I'd like to introduce you all to the newest members of my leadership team. I'm sure you've interacted with them, but I feel compelled to make a formal introduction. Jill Pollock. Is Jill here? She's just embarrassed. Jill Pollock is the interim vice president for human resources. She joined us from the University of Colorado. At Colorado, she served as vice president and executive advisor, as well as chair of the University of Colorado Health and Welfare Trust. Jill replaced Kelly Stuck, as you recall, who was serving in that interim role when she was recruited by the University of Virginia to serve as their vice president and chief human resources officer in August. Jill has vast experience, and she has really, as you know, hit the ground running. And I think our HR department is in very, very good shape. Dr. David Russell, who also is not here at the moment. But David graciously accepted my invitation to return to the UM system as interim chief of staff after his recent retirement as Missouri's Commissioner of Higher Education. Many of you will recognize David as he served nearly 20 years at the UM system in communications and also as a general officer and chief of staff. Ironically, David replaces Zora Mulligan, who was tapped to serve as Missouri Department of Higher Education's newest commissioner for higher education. So we're kind of switching and trading places, but all with very qualified and capable people who love this university. And I'm grateful to have David and Jill on board. Traditionally, this October meeting is reserved for the President to give an update on the strategic plan. I've shared much of this information from a system perspective back in June. So today I'd like to share a few examples of the progress that the campuses are making on their strategic plans, and also to talk about my progress in meeting the goals we set for my presidency as we near the anniversary of my appointment. Since our last meeting, we received a final count on degrees awarded in fiscal year 2016. I'm pleased to report that our campuses awarded 18,520 degrees last year, a record high. This number is up nearly 2.3% from last year's. And we're all eager to see what those graduates do as they join the workforce and our growing alumni network. Early census numbers for enrollment total 74,677 for the 4 campuses. While this tentative number is certainly down from the high of 77,773 last year, we're still attracting some of the best and brightest students to our campuses. We'll submit final numbers to the Department of Higher Education in mid-October, and as I understand it, they may be inching up a little bit from that 77,773. It's hard to believe that I've served as interim president for almost 11 months now. Time really flies when you're having fun. I've been pursuing 3 goals during my interim presidency: to repair relationships and rebuild trust with key stakeholders, working with the board and system staff and campus leaders to ensure continuity and excellence during my term in office, and launching campus and system initiatives to make the UM system a national leader in matters of diversity and inclusion. As a proud 2-time graduate and employee of this university, I take very seriously the need to restore trust and confidence in this institution. I've previously shared several anecdotes gleaned from legislative conversations, alumni and donor interactions, and interactions with internal constituents who have told me that they feel much more confident in the direction of the university than they did just 1 year ago. I'm encouraged by the progress we've made as a team, but remind you that we must not let up on the throttle, ever. This is critical to our success as a university. But we have made progress. For example, MU made significant strides in recruiting, developing, and retaining AAU caliber faculty and staff. Just this year, 5 faculty members at MU were named as fellows in the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and 3 were named fellows in the National Academy of Inventors. 2 top-notch faculty will help us grow our high-impact research, which will, of course, help further drive economic development. UMKC's focus on student access and success has helped boost their overall enrollment up 1.7%, and FTC enrollment this fall, up 15.6% over last year's enrollment. And their presentations, both last night and this morning, demonstrate that the entire Kansas City community is really ahead of the game with regard to inclusion and diversity initiatives. Missouri S&T is making great progress on its goal to hire at least 100 additional faculty by 2020. S&T has hired 42 faculty so far and currently has 4 faculty searches underway and 11 more searches scheduled to begin this fall. So great progress on accomplishing that very necessary goal. UMSL awarded a record 3,200 degrees in FY16. Also, 632 underrepresented minority students received degrees in FY16, another record for UMSL. Chancellors George, Morton, Schrader, and Foley are to be commended for their accomplishments, the accomplishments they outlined in their respective strategic planning reports. Last November, as you are well aware, the board announced several initiatives to address diversity, equity, and inclusions on our 4 campuses. I've reported on these initiatives and we have put them in place. Last month, Board Chair Hendrickson, MU Interim Chancellor Foley, CDO Dr. Kevin McDonald, and I felt the time had come to give a more comprehensive status report on our progress to the news media by way of a media opportunity that was very well attended by news outlets from St. Louis to Kansas City, and I believe a couple of national outlets were with us by telephone, particularly the Chronicle of Higher Education. I think we are agreed that this opportunity to engage in a conversation with media representatives was a very constructive experience for them and for us. The reports that we've seen as a result of that media opportunity, I think you will all agree were very positive and supportive of the things we're doing as an institution to address these issues. It's fair to say that the nation is watching us closely to see how we respond to the challenges put before us last fall. Our college and university colleagues across the country are looking to us for answers. What strategies toward greater diversity and inclusion are working, and what is not effective. I've participated in dialogues across the country, and it is clear to me that our experiences are not unique. The University of Missouri has become a real laboratory of innovation and success in boldly addressing our challenges with sensitivity and with determination. And I'm convinced that we will emerge from this experience much stronger than ever. These conversations aren't over, and the progress won't stop here. And I'm confident that my leadership team, especially Dr. Kevin McDonald and his campus counterparts, will continue to ensure our campuses are engaged in civil discourse within the context of respectful learning environments for our incredibly bright students. As I conclude, I want to share with you an exciting milestone in our university's history. Last week, the UM system celebrated the 30th anniversary of the university's strong partnership with the University of the Western Cape in South Africa. I was delighted to be a part of the establishment of that partnership some 30 years ago, and that's really sort of hard to believe. But this visionary partnership is recognized internationally as the strongest of academic models. This model has enhanced hundreds of faculty and student experiences through travel abroad and through research collaborations. We hosted nearly 40 UWC delegates as a part of this celebration. They had an opportunity to meet with faculty and students from all 4 campuses to celebrate accomplishments of this program and to discuss future endeavors. It's also interesting that we brought in one of UWC's partners, Ghent University in Belgium, and Ghent is very excited about developing a trilateral relationship that's a spin-off of the bilateral that we have with UWC. So it's growing and becoming more global and stronger, and we're very proud of that opportunity. As I said, the UWC partnership is one that I've been greatly involved with during the past 30 years, and I look forward to seeing it continue to flourish in the future. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you this message of hope and optimism, born of hard work by a lot of very, very good people on our leadership team and in our university more broadly. Our university is positioned to be an important contributor to the national dialogue about academic achievement, diversity, inclusion, and student success. And we're committed to being a leader in all those areas and making you all proud. So thank you, and I'm ready to take any questions you might have. And of course, if you don't have questions, I'd also be pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. We're down to the good and welfare of the board. Anybody have any items they would like to bring forward at this time? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the public session?
So moved. Second.
Cindy, would you call the roll?
Curator Cupps,
Yes.
Curator Graham,
Yes.
Curator Henriksen,
Yes.
Curator Nelson,
Aye.
Curator Phillips,
Yes.
Curator Snowden,
Yes.
Curator Sunvold,
Yes.
Curator Voss.
Yes.
All votes in favor.
We will be in executive session.